All right, everyone. Trump has put forward his tentative budget proposal that will be DOA in the House because it's run by Democrats. They want to obstruct any possibility that he'll secure the border or anything like that. Trump's budget would cut pretty much everything. Take a shave off the top of pretty much every domestic federal program. Unfortunately, and I like that. I wish the cuts were 10 times deeper. Take Trump's cuts to government spending and increase it by an order of magnitude, and that's what I would propose. That's what I like about his potential tax plan. Is, oh, we're going to shave off this from the EPA and the FDA and the Department of Education, maybe eliminate this sub-bureau. That's great. Save billions of dollars. Unfortunately, his idea of a conservative fiscal policy appears to be taking that saved money and putting it into the Pentagon, put it into the military. If you're talking about a few billion to secure the border through discretionary spending there, through the Pentagon's general, we can do whatever the fuck we want money, that's okay. But you're talking about more significant increases to the military budget. We do not need more military money. It's not necessary to pay more on our military. You can get rid of no-bid contracts and reform the way the money's used, and you'd be able to make do with less than you have right now, and you'd still get more out of it. The problem is that because of the contracting no-bid systems that the military tends to use, you end up paying $1,000 for a screwdriver that you could literally go down to Home Depot and get. Why isn't it that we still have this weird, arcane, bureaucratized military system a la the early Cold War, when we should really go back to the way it was a century ago, where the military was capable of purchasing its own goods private market style? Why don't we go back to that? It's less professionalistic in one sense, less standardized or whatever, but for topical use. You know, for use, especially if it's not in wartime, does it really matter if the screwdriver is $9.99 from the local Home Depot or whether it's $900 because it's batch delivered under contract from some company that swears that it'll be a better product? It's not going to make any difference whatsoever. That's the biggest waste of spending we have. That and contracting for weapons building. It's like the mother of all bombs, assembled by the U.S. military itself. Despite the absolutely cataclysmic explosive power being on the order of a fucking Davy Crockett device, the device costs significantly less than some of the missiles that contractors build for the U.S. military. Wonder why, that are a lot smaller too and a lot less effective. Be cheaper to just establish air superiority and drop a couple of those than to fire the missiles without the air superiority. With the risk, of course, they get intercepted and destroyed in some way. Oh shit, we just lost a $2 million missile. Well, that's gonna suck. Oh, that $500,000 fucking Predator drone or whatever crazy cost is associated with got shot down over Iran, and now they've got our tech and stuff like that. Which, by the way, has happened in Korea too, I think. Wasn't there a case like 3 years ago where a drone from North Korea crashed across the DMZ, and they're like, oh, this looks like an adapted U.S. design. People were mystified until they figured that the Chinese had somehow gotten a hold of those plans because of their mass espionage of private of military contractors, no less. What a secure system we use. No, increasing the military budget when we're this far in debt doesn't make any sense at all. We need to lower the military budget. You don't need to cut any specific programs or anything like that. Do away with the no-bid contracting system. It's cronyistic in some cases, deeply corrupt, it's inefficient, it doesn't make sense. It was dreamed up by a bunch of people that, you know, smoke $100 cigars and sit around and tipple their imported vodka and caviar and shit like that. The career military politicians, you could call them. They're the ones, you know, I don't think that the average grunt in the infantry cares whether the screwdriver came from Home Depot or is 10 times more expensive from a contractor. Or the submarine toilet seat that costs $500. Shit like that, it doesn't make sense. It's not a superior product. In fact, in some cases, probably inferior, to tell the truth. You look at some of the militaries in the world where everything's jerry-rigged and they still function just fine. I suppose it's an issue for politicians of prestige. For the Republican politicians, it's an issue of if they ever decide not to raise the military budget, then people will say that they hate the U.S. or something like, oh my God, you hate America. Oh my God, you hate America. You lowered the military budget by 2%. Fuck. You know, we're going to lose to Russia now. We're not at peak readiness. The Chinese will invade. And it's never actually going to happen, but that's the weird apocalyptic thinking people have. As far as the rest of the budget, yeah, it's fine. Appropriate money for the wall, do away with the national emergency, hell, just get it into a regular budget. That might still happen, although it's unlikely. But I mean, there are plenty of sellout Republicans that won't vote for it. Oh my God, we can't fund that. will look like bigots. Something like that. And then the Democrats, they run the House. The House controls the purse strings. It's not going to happen. No budget that Trump proposes is ever going to get taken up. If they take it up at all, it's to reformulate and fiddle around with it, eliminate all the cuts and increase welfare spending, decrease the military budget. You got two ideas. Neither of them are fiscally conservative. The Trump / non-neocon Republicans want to cut everything except for the military, which they raise accordingly. The Democrats and the neocons want to lower the military budget and raise everything else accordingly. Where's the fiscal conservatism? The closest approximation we've gotten is Trump's tax proposals, which have gone into effect. I can't wait to see the differential between, the amount owed, the rate paid, and the rate that would have been paid under the old system. It'll be a savings of $3,000-$4,000, according to my estimates, which is significant. That's great. That's fiscal conservatism. You should go further and have another round of tax cuts. But you've got to cut spending at the same time. I found it funny, like when he first did that, Gary Johnson, who hates Trump mostly, he's like, oh yeah, I like it. I think the cut should be deeper. But yeah, anytime you can cut taxes, it's good. But where's the cut in spending? That's a cogent point. You do need to cut that. There's no particular reason that we spend money through the nose for all this bullshit that we do. The idea should be this. This is fiscally conservative. Cut the tax rate substantially across the board. Everyone should pay less. The rich, the poor, everyone in between. Self-employment tax should be just eliminated altogether to incentivize people to do a side job, to increase productivity even further. Yeah, because most people aren't singly self-employed. They have a day job and then maybe they make money on the side. They sell things on eBay or something. They have to claim it, and they get paid. They have to pay extra. They pay what the employer would have paid in a business tax sense, adjusted. Of course, but it's flat. It's a flat 15% of the first 100K. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's an arcane system. It disincentivizes self-employment because it adds a bunch of bullshit you have to go through and you make less money off of it, so people don't want to make the switch. They might have a little side job, that's about it. But to take the plunge and become an entrepreneur, risk can bring great reward to an economy. Yes, you can go bust, but it can also massively, we saw this with the tech revolution, with the dot-coms and everything, can massively increase your economic output. We disincentivize that behavior. That should be done away with. So you should massively lower taxes first. Then you look at the military, you get rid of the no-bid system. You slash 5-10% from the military budget. That almost offsets the tax cuts right there. You go further, though. Look at every alphabet soup fucking agency in the country. There are some you can eliminate because they don't do it, like the EPA. It doesn't do anything anymore. It is toothless. The EPA has become nothing more than a barking dog for neoliberal policies like, oh, we need a carbon tax. We need to clean up this Superfund site. 20 years later, it's dirtier than ever. The EPA is worthless. Get rid of it. So you get rid of that. Number two, if you've got something that's necessary but doesn't need to be handled at the federal level, like education, there shouldn't be a Department of Education. Or it should be massively slimmed down and advisory only. Give that power back to the states. Our educational system in this country was the creme de la creme back when the states handled education. It doesn't need to be held at the federal level. It's impossible to standardize it across the whole nation unless you dumb it down anyway. You're dumbing down the kids of the United States with Common Core, aka Common Crap, or No Child Left Behind, aka No Child Left with a Brain Intact. The school lunch program of Michelle Obama. These they're dumb standards. They don't take into consideration the difference between the cultures and the populations of different states, the economic situation, like what kind of courses are more important. That should be handled on the state and local level. So there are bureaus that you can give that power back to this, and then there are cases where you can roll bureaus together, like the FBI and the CIA. Why aren't they just one bureau? Why do they need to be separate when they data share? They share all the data. They overlap in their purpose. What's the fucking point? It doesn't make any sense to have a differentiation between interior and exterior policy with regards to intel anyway. Roll them. The NSA, same thing. You could subjugate the Coast Guard to the Navy or something like that. I don't know. And then you've got situations where something's necessary but could be handled at the privatized level. In some cases you might say, well, this needs to be done, the road maintenance or something, but, it's cheaper if it's privatized and competitive. Healthcare, something like that. Yeah, that would be a good way to make the system way, way cheaper. Much, much cheaper. And less abusive. It's like the drug scheduling. Well, what is it? Isn't it a combination of the DEA and the FDA primarily is responsible for drug policy? There shouldn't be a drug policy. It should be decriminalized across the board. The government simply shouldn't have any rules on the books whatsoever about them, other than don't intoxicate. Have one law: don't intoxicate people under the age of 18 or something. No, the problem's solved. You don't need to do anything else. Build some rehab facilities. Show some fucking balls and some fucking respect for the population. People are adults. They can get drunk all they want. They can smoke their lungs out with tobacco. They can use certain exotic drugs that are non-scheduled, but they can't use psilocybin. Oh my God, that might make them a hippie or something. It's ridiculous. No, so I support that aspect of the Trump budget where there are cuts made, but I don't support any increase in any form of the budget. No, that includes the military. I find it funny that people can say, I'm conservative, but I don't support lowering taxes further unless it's going to create debt, because I don't want to cut military spending. If you've cut $100 of welfare spending, by God, we want 101% of that to go to our boys overseas. Well, why are they overseas? There's no reason to. That's about all. Peace out.